My favorite projects around here have definitely been everything focused around food production. The mushroom garden was a real fun one. Now we're kind of getting into the main garden stuff and the greenhouse, and I just love this stuff. So I was pretty excited to get my spring set going. I had a selection picked out of some of the vegetables and plants that I know are going to do well through this weather, through my area, this time of year. I kind of had it all planned out. Those that know me know that I am nothing if not a planner. I definitely am pretty meticulous about having a plan laid out before I do anything, and this was definitely no different. I had it pretty much down to the point where I knew exactly where everything was going to go into the ground. Once it was done, how many of them, the spacing, all that stuff before a seed even hit the tray. Rainy day today. Looks like we're going to have rain and maybe a little bit of snow off and on. Maybe about a week or two. Got a few sunny days in there, but it's probably what it'll look like for the most part. Today is gonna be getting the seedlings going, which was the other kind of big priority. And go ahead and get started on getting these ready. This bucket has the stuff that we're actually going to be planting. The focus here was not only what's going to do well, but what I am going to use. What are the things that I buy at the grocery store often that I enjoy eating that can kind of help make up a big portion of my diet and save me on grocery bills. I'm trying to aim for something that's manageable to take care of by myself, but also keep me fed through the year and maybe have some surplus, not just to build up a good storage of food supplies for myself, but maybe to also share. I spend a lot of time working with AI at my job, so I've gotten pretty decent at programming them and understanding them and playing it safe as you can. So yeah, I basically built a program to kind of help me run the homestead and plan things and all of that. I love using AI to try and do this stuff, but like with anything AI related, you have to verify your sources. Don't just take what it gives you at its word, because it'll lie to you a lot. I hear the frogs outside. I was just talking to my grandma yesterday, who was telling me about all the toads and stuff that would come into the shower. She has spent a lot of time up here in the past, knows it very well, but she's pretty excited for me to be up here, as am I, of course. I was back here going to water the plants. These guys, nothing really happening much there, but we're already starting to see some sproutage over on this tray. Well, I'm only feeding myself here for the most part out of this garden, so the plan is definitely to try and preserve as much of this stuff as I can. I've got a lot of ideas as far as what I want to do with this. I love cooking and definitely planning on getting pretty heavily into pickling, canning, other preservation methods, drying. So trying to come up with as many ways to try and make the most out of these harvests. Luckily, I have a greenhouse that my neighbor offered me, so that should help, but I still got some work to do there to get that all moved over and set up here and figure out the best ways to utilize that. Keep these vents closed to make sure it keeps all that moisture. As soon as they start to sprout, we'll go ahead and crack the vents a little bit. We don't want them getting moldy, mildewy, nasty. Alright guys, let's get you tucked into bed here. So that'll keep it nice and toasty between the heating pad and then you've got the heater underneath and the light. And this is the furthest away from the windows and the doors. We should see the best success over here of all the available spots that we have at the moment. At this point, some of the slower growing plants hadn't done too much. The Walla Walla onions, the romaine, and a couple others had little to nothing going on. But overall, I was pretty excited to see this much happening in such a short time. Had a lot of really healthy plants that were growing every day. It's a beautiful rainy morning. Thought I'd mess around in the greenhouse today because I've got some issues I need to take care of. This has been my first kind of experiment in germination and raising seedlings. I had some successes and some things I can definitely see I need to fix and improve on. As any experienced gardener can probably notice by now, I made some mistakes through here. But that's okay, I learned a lot. The biggest glaring issue is how leggy some of these plants got, particularly the tomatoes. Those really long stretches of stem that are reaching up towards the light, it's a problem. It definitely shows that I did not have the correct intensity or distance from the light for those particular plants, and they were just starving for it. I also made the mistake of trying to overcorrect too many things at once to try and scramble to fix problems. So that resulted in changing lighting, changing positioning, changing watering, adding a fan. And that was an issue because even if I did fix some things, I have no idea which of them actually worked. So I've been a bit more particular about what fixes I put in place and how I introduce them, just so I can kind of figure out what's working and what's not. Overwatering turned out to be a big problem for me as well. Through a couple of these trays, the peppers and tomatoes was definitely the one tray I wanted to do well. And it was one that I certainly overwatered. So I tried to go ahead and correct that by aerating the soil a little bit with like a very small coffee straw and just staying away from the root development that I had in there as best I can. But I popped some holes in to get some aeration through, eased up on the watering pretty much across the board, and I stopped trying to overtend to these things to the point where I hurt them. So once I kind of figured out where I was going wrong, I was able to correct it, and it's been pretty smooth sailing ever since. So I came in to do a quick check on my seedlings, and a lot of them are doing real well. I recently raised the level of these up to get closer to the grow light. I shut it off for a moment because the lighting looks a lot better without it because it's like a real pinkish hue. But right now I can see that because I had it so much closer, that I'm starting to burn the tips of a couple of these tomato plants, which I definitely don't want to happen. So they just started to do that. So I immediately dropped it down to this lower level here. These ones are definitely the slowest growing, which was anticipated. They take a long time to germinate compared to everything else I planted. But we can see the beets are doing real well. The thyme is doing super well. And then also we've got some oregano that's popping up pretty decently. Although those look like beets. Oh, you know what? They are beets because it goes this way. This is all oregano. So beets are doing well. Thyme's doing well. And I think they're actually doing a little bit too well in that I've got to start to trim some of these out of here and kind of thin the herd a bit. Didn't do a whole lot with this little haircut on these guys, mostly just tried to get some of the dead pieces out of here. Didn't really have much in the way of failures. Even the ones that had some iffy starts seemed to recover pretty quickly. There was a few cells, that didn't even come up, but once they did start growing, I was able to maintain them pretty well, and hopefully I can keep that going. It stays pretty crazy warm in there too. These are the thermometers I set up. The bottom one's inside the house. The top one is the greenhouse. The other two are outside. I've got one position on the hot side of the house and one in the cooler side, which is where the current garden's at. But as you can see, it gets pretty warm, and these days, as the kind of freezing temperatures have cooled off, I've been able to turn the heaters off during the day because it just starts getting too hot. But seedlings are nice and comfy. At this point, some of the slower growing plants hadn't done too much. The Walla Walla onions, the romaine, and a couple others had little to nothing going on. But overall, I was pretty excited to see this much happening in such a short time. Had a lot of really healthy plants that were growing every day. I was feeling a little bit more comfortable now, so I started expanding the seedlings and restarting a couple of the more iffy plants just to be safe. And anything that I needed additional waves of, like the greens, I needed to keep those producing as I harvest them, so I have been kind of scheduling myself in waves to get those out on time. This first one is actually the pepper and tomatoes, which are doing great. There's only like 2 cells that didn't germinate. One was one of the habaneros, one was the California Wonder. We want to make sure we've got healthy, hardy plants, and that means that they need to be able to stand up to the elements. So they're going to start getting exposed to things like cooler temperatures, drying out a bit more, and also having a little bit of wind. You can see a little bit of movement happening just sitting out here in the wind like this. So from here, things really took off. The plants definitely kind of found their groove, and so did I. I kind of fixed most of the issues that I was running into and got the greenhouse kind of tuned up to where I was seeing the most success. And we started seeing a lot of growth. A lot of those mistakes that I was making were starting to fade. So at this point, I've been able to up pot our tomatoes all the way up to 4-inch pots. I got them moved over yesterday, and they're doing great so far. Peppers also got an upgrade, most of them anyways. I ran out of potting soil, so I gotta take a run to the store today to finish these up. And then we've got all of our chives and different herbs and stuff like that that are doing pretty well. They're going to be sitting inside the greenhouse for a while longer. This is a newer tray. We've got some more lettuces, spinach, herbs, and stuff like that. The basil's doing awesome. The peppers I still need to get up potted here, and then again some more trays of lettuces back here that are doing pretty awesome. So new stuff and old stuff has turned out pretty well. Only had a couple cells here and there that weren't doing great. These are the next ones that are going out in the garden. You can see we've already kind of removed all of our onions out of here. They're back in the garden as of a few days ago, but the lettuces are doing great. The romaine that wasn't kind of coming through at first has come up and been thriving. So these guys are looking really healthy. So this is about where I'm at today, a couple of days before posting this video. All the tomatoes and peppers are up potted into their 4-inch pots and growing great. Started some light fertilizer once a week. Lettuces are going into the ground after this little cold snap we've got forecasted passes. I've got 4 more trays germinating and sprouting away to help fill the herb garden and the lavender field when it warms up. This is always the most enjoyable part of my day, playing around in here, taking care of my babies. Just another step closer to getting myself to be self-sustaining. So with that, until next time, where hopefully I can start sharing some of this outdoor stuff and the preparation work that went into the garden, so we could get these little guys ready for their final home.